Greetings, everybody. It is the top of the hour, so I will kick us off. Hello and welcome. So that you are aware, this session is being recorded. My name is Rich Frazing. I will be the moderator for this session. Um, Before we begin, on behalf of ADEIL, we would love to thank our host, Troy University, and especially thanks to our technical coordinator, Marcy Shirley from Troy University. Thank you so much, Marcy, for doing all the behind the scenes stuff to keep things running smoothly. We are so thankful for everyone's contributions in making this event possible. Thank you for joining us for this presentation, Harnessing AI for Personalized Learning, Transforming Assignments, Teaching, and Research in Psychology. Please join me in welcoming this session's presenter, Joseph Slade.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Can you see that all right?
Yes, I can.
All righty. So my kind of area of research is AI teaching and learning. So this is something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I do for fun on the side. I love playing with the fancy new toys and seeing how we can adopt them in the classroom. So I'm going to break today's talk into a couple of different sections. First off, why should we use it? I'll give a little bit of historical context on not just AI tools, but just kind of technology use in the classroom generally. And then how do we use it? So until the end of the session, I'll just kind of run through demo after demo, showing you different ways that I've found effective and some of the students that I work with have found effective. So let's dive in. Some of you might be familiar with this article. It came out in 1984 by Dr. Benjamin Bloom, an educational psychologist. And this is sort of where we set one-on-one in-person tutoring as sort of the gold standard for education. So he ran an experiment. It was a series of experiments teaching a couple of different subjects. I think it was probability and cartography was the other one. But so he taught students the exact same content in different conditions. So in one condition, he had students in a traditional classroom setting, so one instructor to about 30 students. And in another condition, he had about a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 ratio of instructor to student. So in these different conditions, they're learning the same subject material over the same period of time. And what he found was a very significant difference in terms of learning. So we're going to focus here, this conventional classroom condition. Down here on the bottom, this is a final exam score. So after these, I think it was a couple of weeks of learning under these different conditions, he gave everybody an identical exam and then compared scores. So in this conventional classroom setting, you have an average score of about here. And then in this 1-to-1 condition, you find 2 standard deviations improvement over that traditional classroom setting, which is huge. I think that the average score for the one-on-one mentorship condition is better than something like 98% of all the conventional classroom group. So this kind of set the standard as one-on-one teaching, personalized learning. That's the way to go. There have been a lot of attempts. This isn't new knowledge. This was more of just an experimental verification of something that we all kind of have an intuitive sense of. There have been different attempts to try to take conventional classrooms where you have like a high student to teacher ratio and try to mimic something like a one-on-one tutoring. This one is fun. There's a little revolving wheel on the side. And so what happens is a question appears in this little window. There's a big roll of paper on the inside. A question appears in the window, and then the student with a pencil pencils in what they think the response should be. And then they turn the wheel on the side, crank, 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 and then the correct answer comes up. And so there are videos online. I was going to bring one from YouTube, but I kept getting the ads, so I didn't want that to be distracting. But there are videos online of entire classrooms with students on these things. And you can literally hear ka-chunk, 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 as like 30 or 40 students are all sitting there learning at their own pace. That was B.F. Skinner's big promotion with this tool, is it provided personalized learning. Each student could learn at their own pace, and they received immediate feedback. They could each individually know when they got a question correct or incorrect. As technology evolved, so too did the educational programs. I know I used something similar to this when I was, I think, in high school. Anybody else recognize? You click on all the boxes. But the thing about these previous attempts to personalize learning is that every single response here is pre-recorded, right? You have to build this thing. Every time I click on this button, I receive this page every single time. What you don't have is something like the large language models offer today, where no matter what I myself put in, I'm going to receive a personalized response. And that's maybe where some of the magic can happen here with these large language models and integrating them into education, is maybe for the first time you truly can get something like a one-on-one in-person experience for a lot of students at the same time. Now, experimental evidence utilizing large language models in the classroom is still a bit scarce these days because it's still the Wild West. You know, this is a new technology, and there aren't too many people who've been able to run studies. This one is promising. It's only a preprint, but it's already made huge headlines in Fortune magazine and wherever else, coming out of Harvard. So they taught, I think it was physics. I don't remember the exact module, but again, similar to that old Benjamin Bloom study, it was about 2 weeks of either in-person education or at home with this AI tutoring module that again gives like this personalized immediate feedback. They had a pre-test before to make sure, you know, that yeah, to just kind of control for some students. Some students are always going to do well, some students are always going to do poorly, and you don't want that to, you know, be a confounding factor with your experiment. But what they found was that students learn more than twice as much in less or about the same time compared to the traditional classroom setting, which is cool. Here is this pre-score. So before the experiment started, they gave everybody a test, and this is about the average score that students had. For just the regular lecture condition, after 2 weeks, they gave the same test. This was their score, and this is that result of about two times the exam score for the AI condition. They also found you can compare here lecture to AI, just measures of engagement and motivation too, which is also useful. I'll briefly run through a few studies that we've done, because like I said, this is something that this is my research interest as well. There's an ongoing question of when students use ChatGPT to complete a writing assignment, are they actually learning the material? Are they engaging with the material? Or, you know, is this just a way to cheat? You know, so what we did is we had 3 different conditions of variable ChatGPT use. We had students complete a writing assignment from an introductory psychology course, either on their own, not using ChatGPT at all. We had what we called a partial ChatGPT condition, in which we gave them access to ChatGPT, but we gave them the instruction, do not just copy and paste. You still have to rewrite it in your own words. And then we had a full ChatGPT condition where we said, you can copy and paste, you can do whatever you want. And then afterwards, we gave them a quiz on the same material that this writing assignment was about. And we didn't find any significant difference in scores. So this could be used maybe to justify more use potentially, the risk is potentially not so great. We're going to run this experiment again with more students and actually in person in the classroom this fall. This study here, I think there was 119 students that took it. It was just a 1 hour online study. We also looked at the writing quality of the student submissions, and we found that the more you use ChatGPT, the higher the quality of the writing as judged by some of our RAs. I don't know that I'm necessarily surprised because these are usually 18-year-olds, maybe some of them, all the help that they can get is good. We also looked at different AI type of use to complete the same writing assignment. So same writing assignment from an introductory psychology class. Again, this is an online 1 hour research experiment. We had students complete this writing assignment either with no AI at all, with access to ChatGPT, or with this intro psych tutor that we built with the help of some computer science students. And then after they completed the writing assignments, again, we gave them that same quiz to see if there was a difference in learning. And in this particular experiment, we found that this is the ChatGPT condition. Their scores were significantly greater than the no AI condition, which we need to go back and we have access to the chat logs, like the actual interactions between the student and ChatGPT. And so we need to go back and look to see, like, is that just more engagement with the material? What's going on here? But it's interesting, pointing to AI use, maybe not such a threat, and maybe potentially also beneficial. Third study we ran this year, it was fun. AI generated avatars. Could you tell which one of those is me and which one is AI generated? Like, I don't know if I can. I'm looking here at the screen. When it's in stills like this, I can't tell. So what this software is called HeyGen, and what you do is I just took about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes of video of myself talking, and I uploaded it. And then all you need to do is give a written text transcript, and you instantly have an avatar that is walking and talking just like you. So here, let me make sure that the volume is up because it's a little bit quiet, but this is a clip of the avatar. And like there's something with the mouth, right? Sometimes the head gives a little twitch that gives it away, but it's pretty darn close. And this is the second generation. Just a few weeks ago, they dropped their third generation software, which is even better. So the experiment is we had 2 identical lectures, 15 minutes long, about operant and classical conditioning. And we randomly assigned students to receive the lecture either from a video recording of me, the real me, or from the AI generated avatar me. And then afterwards, again, we gave them a quiz to see if there was any kind of difference in learning. And then we also gave them a bunch of like human computer interaction measures. So like trust, likability, anthropomorphism. And then we also asked them questions about like motivation to learn and those kinds of scales. And we didn't see any difference whatsoever between the 2 conditions. So it's so much easier just to upload like a transcript and immediately have like a 15, 20, 30-minute video, as opposed to, going through and recording it yourself. So this could potentially have some implications, especially with like eCampus or something like that. Yeah, this is a lot of interesting potential applications here and a lot of fun to do. So now I will transition into kind of some demos. I'm going to go through how I and some of my students have found AI to be really helpful for teaching and learning. First, just some basics about prompting, because I'm a chat GPT guy almost exclusively. Like there's a lot of fancy tools out there, but I just keep coming back. So a lot of these exchanges are going to involve text prompting, right? And garbage in, garbage out. How well you are able to articulate what you want is going to dictate the quality of the response that you receive. There are a lot of these kinds of, they call them prompting frameworks, like this RTF framework. You can pick any one of them. These are all just kind of aids to get you to be more specific in what you're asking for. So here, define a role, define a task, define a format of the response you want to receive. So for example, role. You're an introductory psychology tutor. I am telling ChatGPT, you are going to play the part of an introductory psychology instructor. Your task is to try to help students understand the difference between positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and then this format. I want you to create an in-class exercise. The more specific you can be, the better. And I looked at this in-class exercise too, and it, something that I could use with the students. And if you don't like the first example, you can ask it for 10 examples, 10 more, and then just pick the top one. I'm just going to go through an example of some different specific ways of using ChatGPT. So you can upload documents. So for instance, I'm going to upload from my computer an OpenStax biopsychology chapter from an introductory psychology textbook. So this is just an open source textbook that I downloaded to my computer. So you can give ChatGPT access to a document like an open source textbook chapter. And then you can quiz yourself with multiple choice or short answer questions. This is something that you can assign to your students to do for themselves or just recommend for them to do. I do it myself sometimes. Or you yourself as an instructor could use it to generate questions. So here's an example prompt. Pretend you're an introductory psychology tutor. There's that role. Extract the key concepts, create some questions. And then here at the end, then I will try to answer them. And I would like you to evaluate my responses. So it's going to generate some questions, and then I, as the student, can try to answer these questions, and then it'll give me feedback. It'll tell me when I'm correct, what I got wrong. It's really handy, and you can just keep going through it. And if you want to have audio, if you want any of this read aloud at any time, like let's say you're walking and you're doing it on your phone, that's pretty handy. And you can just keep regenerating responses. Let's say you have 5 questions and you answered them all. You can regenerate, get another 5, get another 5, get another 5, all based on that textbook chapter that you uploaded. OpenAI GPTs are something that I'm starting to use this term. We're actually going to be assigning students an assignment built with one of these in a couple of weeks. I can let you know how that goes. You need to have the paid account as the instructor to create it, but your students can use it for free. They can just sign up for a free OpenAI account. I don't even know if you have to give them your email anymore. They're really opening up access to it. But so a GPT, what it involves, this is like the back end when you're creating it for the first time. Give it a name, a description, and then the instructions. That's the most important part. And also knowledge. You know how we uploaded that open source textbook before? You can do that here too. Give it access to the textbook. But these instructions, I'm going to show you a set of instructions that I've found very helpful with this GPT. And then I'm going to show you this GPT in action. So this is a lot of text, but I'll just kind of walk you through the basics of what's going on here. So first, I want this GPT to present to students an example. Aubrey was running late for work. She merged onto the highway. Someone swerved, cut her off. She got angry. So first, GPT, I want you to present this example. Next, I want you to present a question about the example. I want you to wait for the student to respond. I want you to respond to the student's answer, ask a follow-up question, wait for the student to respond to what the student said, and then continue asking questions to deepen understanding. Next, I want you to ask the student to describe a recent interaction that they had. I want you to personalize this for the student. Wait for the student to respond to the student, ask another question, wait. So it's just like if you were to observe like the ideal one-on-one tutoring interaction between an instructor and a student, and if you were to write that out as a transcript in stepwise fashion, that's what you're doing here. You're instructing this GPT to follow this script. And it's very good at doing that. So now, what have you created? Well, let's see. So I should just say this is teaching students about the fundamental attribution error, which is just it's not important to know exactly what it is. But so it presents students with an example, asks students a question, the student responds to the question, it responds to the student, asks the student another question, the student responds, it responds back, asks another question, student responds again. It's just this back and forth and back and forth. And then here it provides a definition of the fundamental attribution error. And it asks students to think of an example in their life. So it personalizes the exercise. The student provides a personalized example. It's waiting in a checkout. It asked him, like, think of a time when you felt frustrated. It's like waiting in a checkout line. People in front of me were talking and talking, taking a long time. How frustrating. Responds. And it asks questions related to the fundamental attribution error about this personal example. See how personalized it can be. It specifically references the example that the student provided within the context of this lesson. And it just goes back and forth and back and forth until eventually my final instruction to the GPT was, when you feel like they've demonstrated sufficient understanding, you can end the exercise. And as proof of completion, you can't see it here, but within the ChatGPT window, there's a little button up in the upper right-hand corner, and this is just always there, which saves the conversation. And so you can save that as like, I think it's a PDF or something. And so students will upload that as proof that they completed the exercise. Now, it's possible if students want to derail the conversation, they totally can. Like they can write in and say, tell me a story about fairies and unicorns, and take the conversation completely off track. But I want them to turn in that conversation history. And so the GTAs, the grad students will, when they're grading it, make sure that the student is staying on topic. So, that's kind of the check and balance for that. I want to leave some time for questions. Maybe I'll even just stop it here. I have some more demos of, let me show you one more. The voice mode. I actually just recorded this morning. So I apologize for the poor video quality. I use voice mode all the time. Probably too much. I just go for walks, and it's just like I'm talking to a person on the phone, and I'm just asking questions conversationally, back and forth. And it's getting better and better at seeming more human, to the point to where sometimes I really forget I really do forget that I'm not talking to a person.
Hard time understanding the difference between classical and operant conditioning. Can you help me out?
Of course. In classical conditioning, a natural response is triggered by a previously neutral stimulus. Think of Pavlov's dogs, who learn to associate a bell with food, causing them to salivate when they heard it. Operant conditioning, on the other hand, is about learning through consequences. Behaviors are strengthened.
So just imagine you're a student and you're trying to learn this difficult subject material, and you can just talk about it on your way between classes and different things like that. And some people worry about hallucinations. And I'll just say this. For the big topics, like for the things that have appeared on the internet a lot, like the topic of operant and classical conditioning, it's everywhere on the internet. It is not going to hallucinate much at all because it has a lot of data trained on it. But the more specific and esoteric the question that you ask, the more likely it is going to hallucinate. So like it hallucinates journal citations, for instance, because there's only one. There's only one out there. Like when there's only small amounts of data that this thing is trained on, it's still going to give an answer, even though it's not able to, have very strong predictive ability within that domain. And the same goes with AI detectors. AI detectors are looking for two things: predictability and burstiness. So when people feed like the Declaration of Independence or something like that into an AI detector and it says that it's AI generated and they're like, aha, it's like, well, you're using it wrong. It's like, of course, that piece of text is very predictable because it's everywhere. It's online, it's in its training data. So it's able to predict the next words within that document very well. But like if it's a student's original work, that doesn't exist anywhere on the internet. And so it's not able to make predictions about what word comes next. And so it does not get flagged as much. I'm not advocating for AI detectors because they have other problems like bias against non-native speakers. And that's real. That's real. So I'm not saying we should go that route. I'm just saying we should have a little more nuanced of a conversation about these issues. But yeah, maybe there's time for a couple of questions.
Yeah, one question from the chat that I'll elevate. Are there any security concerns when using an avatar that has exact likeness of a real person? Meaning, can anyone access the same avatar after it's created, or only the person that created it?
Right now, only the person that created it. Like it doesn't get uploaded and become an option for other people. Like that specific software, HeyGen, they do have like I don't even know, 20 or 30 like stock avatars that you can choose of all different ages and whatever, but your personal one, no, that's just yours.
Do we have any other questions? Something that I was wondering. So that's fascinating about being able to upload like the document and then ChatGPT or whatever the generative AI tool can look at it. Is it possible with the tools that you've used to filter out like that knowledge of, okay, ChatGPT, I want you to base the entirety of your knowledge on only this article, or is it hardwired in such a way that it's still going to have its, whatever wired it together?
So the training data, the background training data, you can think of it as like the size of the sun, right? It's just huge, trillions and trillions and trillions of pages. And you're giving it one document, which is like maybe a tiny little asteroid. So in terms of mass, like you can ask it and there are better and worse ways to ask it. Like the more specific you can be, like if you use the terminology from the actual article itself, you can get it to do it better because it kind of gets it in a groove. Because what it's trying to do is predict what word comes next.
Yep.
So the more context you can give it, the better it can do. But so like if you just say, summarize this for me, most of the time it's going to do a good job.
Okay.
But it'll do less of a good job than if you use the title or words from the abstract or something like that to help keep it more on track. Always double check. Never, always double check.
Yep. Well, that was a time where I have to be the bad person just because we have more sessions to attend. But thank you so much, Joseph, for your presentation and all for attending. I didn't see there was a question. If you have other questions, Joseph has generously shared his email address, there. So again, these never has to be the end of the conversation during Q&A time. It can be just the beginning of this. I will ask everyone to please complete in a conference evaluation. You can again attend it once, maybe makes sense to fill it out once you've attended everything, but there's a link just so we have that there. Again, please join me in thanking Joseph for some great insights. And everybody, enjoy the rest of the ADEIL conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, Joseph, I'm off to my next thing, but that was really cool. Thank you for sharing just the potential of what these tools can do. The AI generated video is yeah, that's something to
Eerie.
grapple with. Something to chew on. Eerie is a good word.
Well, thank you very much for making this so easy.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.